Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Marley. Kayden here in Chicago alongside Sam Vadas at the New York Stock Exchange. We'll close our show out with some final thoughts on the session today. We saw all the airline stocks under pressure today despite an end in sight for the government shutdown. Airlines are warning travelers do not expect things to snap back to normal right away. Flight schedules have already been cut by up to 10%. It could take weeks, they're saying, before staffing and schedules fully recover. Air traffic controllers and TSA officers have been working without pay, and the airlines say that it will take time to get everyone and everything back to normal operations. Now, that being said, we're only 2 weeks out from what is expected to be record Thanksgiving travel. So the longer that this drags on for the government shutdown itself and also the residual following it once it ends, the bigger the headache for the travelers, for the industry, and for the markets. Shares of the airlines like American, Delta, United, Southwest were all lower on the session today. American saw the biggest drop at around 2.5%. And Sam, that's just been top of mind for me as I've had friends and family members traveling who are stuck in these horrible lines at the airport. What caught your eye today?
Yeah, it certainly feels like we all just know someone who's been really caught up in this right now. But I sort of noticed, obviously, we were talking about a lot today, and also with Alex Coffey, the pressure we saw in chips. I mean, tech pulling back today. Names like AppLovin, Micron, Lam Research, and HP were amongst the biggest losers today on the S&P 500, as we did see that rotation out of technology and these AI names into more of what started off as a defensive type of trade, although we sort of started to see that broadening out throughout the course of the session. CoreWeave and Oracle were two notable decliners as well. Nvidia, of course, pulling back after SoftBank offloading its entire stake there, although that doesn't appear to be quite personal. It's about using those funds for other AI investments, as we've been saying throughout the course of the day. But, questions about AI valuations have been weighing on this market lately as investors start to question return on investment. A Wells Fargo analyst putting out a note saying they're wary that the overly bullish sentiment toward the group and elevated expectations make the sector susceptible to disappointment. As I was just discussing with Peter, Michael Burry also taking to X, calling the hyperscalers into question, talking about understating depreciation and artificially boosting earnings as well. So he's been telling his followers to stay tuned. More details coming on November the 25th, so we'll be watching. But, it was a good day, as we've mentioned, for healthcare. I mean, the sector rallying up over 2% thanks to pharma giants. I mean, Novo rallying up over 6%, Eli Lilly closing up over 2%. I mean, we have very much seen, healthcare catching a bid in generally this rotation that we've seen, Marley, but also, of course, a lot of the developments around what is happening with the U.S. government as well. But heading into tomorrow, what will you be looking out for?
I'll be watching Cisco's earnings. They're going to be our big report, their fiscal first quarter coming out tomorrow after the close. The street looking for revenue of $14.78 billion on earnings of 98 cents. Now, if Cisco can show that demand is accelerating in its high growth segments like AI infrastructure or security software while maintaining its margins and guiding upward, it could provide a strong signal for the broader tech investment cycle and also help some of this tech pressure that we're seeing today. On the flip of that, though, Sam, if the guidance is weak or if their margins deteriorate at all, it could reinvigorate these concerns about AI bubbles, enterprise spending, and hardware refresh cycles. So it will be very interesting to see those numbers as they come out. We should also be getting the vote that potentially could put an end to this government shutdown. The Senate has also already passed that bill to bring the longest funding impasse in history to conclusion, but the House will now need to vote and pass it tomorrow before it can go to the president's desk to be finalized. So I think all eyes will be on that vote if it does in fact happen tomorrow. It is supposed to happen tomorrow. How about you, Sam?
Right, of course. And, sticking with the earnings theme, Circle will be out before the bell. This stock is down nearly 20% so far in November, but it's still up more than 45% or so from where it opened, trading at $69 per share on June the 5th. According to Zacks, the market is calling for about $709 million in revenue and earnings of 17 cents per share. So we'll be watching that one, but it's a ton of Fed speak on the docket tomorrow. So we'll be hearing from the likes of John Williams, Anna Paulson, Chris Waller, Raphael Bostic, Stephen Myron, and Susan Collins. So no doubt we'll be hanging on to every word that they have to say in the absence of all this data. But of course, the bond market will also be reacting to that because it reopens tomorrow after being closed today for Veterans Day. Now, traders have been left a little bit directionless because of the lack of the government data as to how the economy is holding up. But in the meantime, there is a 10-year note auction tomorrow. So we'll be getting a sense of investor demand for long-dated treasuries in this current environment.
Yeah,
I'll send things back over to you, Marley.
Yes, going to be a busy day for us, Sam, but that is going to do it for us today here on Market on Close.